get started, I am going to be using one 12-ounce can of whole pickled jalapenos. I am going to remove them from the can and just pat them dry with a paper towel to make them easier to work with. And I find that rubbing your hands with cooking oil helps when handling jalapenos. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just, with my kitchen shears, cut off the tops. And you can do this one of two ways. If you like a lot of spice and heat, then you want to stuff the whole jalapeno. So just carefully remove the seeds and the insides. I'm using kitchen shears, you could use chopsticks. But I am weak sauce when it comes to spiciness. So I'm going to cut this jalapeno in half, devein it, remove the seeds, and that gives me the perfect heat for my jalapeno poppers. So if you want a medium heat to your jalapeno popper, I suggest using half of the jalapeno, removing the veins and seeds. By the way, I do know that a popular way to make jalapeno poppers is to use fresh jalapenos, and you can definitely do this for this recipe, but I like the flavor of a pickled jalapeno. I don't know, the brininess and the cheddar cheese, it's just a match made in heaven, so that's why I like to use pickled jalapenos. Okay, so all of my jalapenos have been halved, and I have removed all the veins and seeds. Now I'm just going to take a paper towel and dry the insides. Mind you, when these jalapenos are packed, they are packed in a pickling brine with a little bit of oil. Okay, so now I'm ready to start stuffing my jalapenos. I am going to be using 8 ounces of sharp cheddar cheese, and I am going to grate it. Grating the cheese makes it easier to mold the cheese to the jalapeno. Now before I start stuffing them, I am just going to take a little bit of all-purpose flour, and I'm also going to use this flour later for dredging, and I'm just going to dust the inside, again, just to ensure that the cheese can stick as best as possible when I'm molding it to the jalapeno. So here we go. By the way, you can just as easily mold the cheddar cheese first in your hand and then place it in the jalapeno. Do what works for you. But here we go. This is pretty much what you're looking for when you're molding the cheese to the jalapeno. Okay, so after stuffing all of them, I ended up with 15 jalapeno poppers. I would have had 16, but one was a little too mangled for the cheese to stick to it, so I couldn't use it. But here we are. So now I'm going to set up my dredging station. Here I have around a half cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to add salt to taste. You can add any seasonings you want to your dredges, whatever you like. I'm adding salt, keeping it simple. And here in another pie dish, I am going to add around a cup of plain breadcrumbs. Now I'm also going to be adding around a half cup of Panko breadcrumbs. You can use all breadcrumbs, you can use all Panko, use what you like. This is the combination I like to use. I'm just going to add salt to taste, and I'm going to be adding pepper to taste, and I'm also going to be adding some onion powder. I like the addition of onion powder in my breading. So I'm just going to give this a good mix. And after I do that, I am going to crack 2 large eggs in another pie dish. And I'm also going to be scrambling these up and adding around a half cup of water, just to thin it out a little bit to make it easier to roll the jalapenos in. And then after that, my dredging station is ready to start getting these things dredged and coated. So after I dredge and coat all of these, I'm going to place them on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, and I will be freezing these. That is an important step in these poppers. So here we go. Dry hand, I'm going to coat these in flour, and then wet hand in the egg. And I'm going to speed things up a bit. I also want to mention that I will be giving these a double coat. So I am going to, after dipping them in the flour, I'm going to go into the egg, into the breadcrumb panko situation, and then back in the egg, back in the breadcrumb mix. I like a double coat, and I suggest you do that too because it does ensure that you keep most of the cheese inside your popper. Okay, so after coating or double coating all of my jalapeno poppers, I am going to freeze them for 2 hours. Yes, you want to freeze your poppers. This is important. By the way, happy belated Father's Day. We have art on the fridge. Okay, so into my crazy stuffed freezer it goes. By the way, how many of you have a freezer that looks like this? It's craziness. So 2 hours in the freezer. This is so important to make sure it keeps its shape, and you end up with just a better jalapeno popper. So they have been in the freezer for at least 2 hours. They are frozen. And this is the best part about doing this. If you want to make like a whole bunch for a party, you can do it ahead of time and store them in the freezer until you need them. So I'm storing half of them in the freezer because we are not going to eat all of these today. But I will fry some up for my husband and to show you what they look like. So again, this is the perfect way to prepare for a party if you need to make so many of these. So, and they will keep in the freezer. I have done this in the freezer for up to a month without any issues. Okay, so I have my fry oil coming up to heat. By the way, I do have a baking sheet lined with paper towels to place my fried poppers on. You want to make sure you do that. And you know how I like to test my oil. By the way, fry oil should be 350 degrees to 375 for a good fry. I just like to test it with a little bit of the breadcrumb. If it starts frying and floating, that's when I know I'm good to go. Once I place my jalapeno poppers into the fry oil, I am only going to cook them for less than a minute on each side. It may vary because obviously I'm not really measuring heat here, but you don't want to let it overcook because then the cheese will start oozing out too much and you're going to lose the cheese into the fry oil. And it's bound to happen. It does happen, but this is why you want to freeze it. So you allow the exterior to cook and get that deep golden brown color before the cheese has a chance to just explode and ooze everywhere. So again, less than a minute on each side. Just look for the color. And when you start seeing a little bit of cheese ooze out, it's ready. Take it out. Okay, my jalapeno poppers are done. I'm going to let them sit here on the paper towels just to soak up any residual oil. And I wanted to show you this just on the fly quick ranch dip I did. I literally had like 5 ounces left of this sour cream. This is an 8-ounce container, but I had used part of it in another recipe. So I'm just using the remainder of the sour cream. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise. And I'm just going to add some dry ranch mix seasoning, and it was an open package I had, and I didn't even know how much was in there, so let's measure it, shall we? Here I have 1 teaspoon, and 2 teaspoons, and yeah, a little over 2 teaspoons of mix, and I'm just going to give it a mix. This will be enough for these poppers. Definitely it goes great with like a ranch dressing or ranch dip, and just follow the ranch dip seasoning packet for the recipe, but I just wanted to show you that's what I did today. So now time for the taste test. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.